Week 3. It took me some time to create this lecture, but finally we are there. And the first thing that we are going to have a look in week 3 are something known as conditionals. So essentially, what I'll do is I will actually divide these topics of C over multiple weeks, right? So sometimes part one of a particular topic would be in one particular week, and then part two would be in some other week, right? Because I just want you guys to understand the concepts in a certain fashion, in a certain sequence. Okay, so this is basically the part one of your conditionals. There is at least one more part that we'll see in later weeks. So let's just start with the use of braces, right? So remember this full pseudocode that we had written for solving quadratic equations. um, what was the purpose of these braces? Okay, braces as in these pair of curly brackets. So one thing that you can already observe is that they basically marked the start and end for a specific set of scenarios, right? So for example, um, here if d was equal to 0, then whatever was to be executed, that was in one set of braces. Similarly, if d was greater than 0, then it was here, and otherwise, right, it was here. So basically, what braces did was basically marking the start and end for the steps for a particular scenario. So now, the same concept essentially gets copied up into C programming language, right? So we use paired braces to create what we can call as code blocks. Okay, so a code block is a collection of statements that you probably already have seen, which are executed in the order they appear. Okay, so this is another aspect that um, basically when you have written some 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 statements inside a code block, when one statement starts executing, the whole of the block is executed, right? And in fact, the whole main function itself was basically within a paired braces, right? So this is what it means, that when the program execution starts, it reaches up to the return 0 statement, the last statement. So now this happens unless we actually have some kind of a branching construct. What exactly is branching? We'll just talk about it. Um, so conditionals that we are going to study in this lecture is basically one of the branching techniques that you get in programming. So this I have already talked to you about. That in main also we have these braces, right? These braces, and the whole code that you wrote was basically inside this. And because we have not yet used any kind of branching, it meant that all the instructions in this particular program will be executed every time you executed your program. But sometimes you would like certain instructions in your program to be executed only when there is a certain condition. So for example, in our quadratic equations example, if the discriminant was less than 0, in that case you would probably not want this statement to run, right? Because you are then trying to find the square root of a negative number. So you would basically want some kind of a mechanism where this particular statement is only executed if d is greater than or equal to 0, or if d is less than 0, you would like this statement to be skipped. Okay, no, you want that this statement is not executed. So to do this, you need some kind of a branching mechanism. So now what exactly is branching? You remember that example that we were discussing in the initial classes, where there was a program counter, and the program counter, it used to get incremented by 1. I told you every time an instruction was executed, the program counter was automatically incremented by 1. So now it can probably make sense to you that why is it that we do that, because this is exactly the default processing mode of a computer. The computer keeps on processing instructions in sequence, okay, one after the another. If you can probably find a nice comparison with the first law of motion, right? It says that something at rest will remain at rest, and something in motion will remain in motion in a straight line at a constant velocity, right? so the same thing is that basically if you don't stop or if you don't change the way your computer works, the computer simply keeps on executing instructions in a sequence. Now, branching is a mechanism which basically allows you to break this sequential code execution, right? So just if you go back to our physics example, basically it is an external force, the external force that can change the direction or acceleration of your of your body. So if you know it is required in certain scenarios where you would like certain instructions to be executed only in certain scenarios, right? So for example, you would like certain instructions to be executed based on the value of t. This was in our quadratic equation example. Now, all programming languages provide constructs for branching. There are different constructs that they provide. At assembly level, what the way it is implemented, the way your compiler generates code for it is that at assembly level you actually have instructions which can explicitly change the value of program counter to something else, and this is how the sequential execution of the program can be changed at the assembly level. So the construct that we are going to study today is the if construct in C, and a simple if statement allows a detour. Okay, detour as you simply take some other path for based on a particular condition while your code is executing. So a simple way to understand it is something like this. Let us say your code is comprising of code blocks, okay, and basically uh, a particular bi here shows a set of statements which do not have any conditionals in between, right? So if we go back to the previous the first program that we have created, there are no branching statements at all. So basically the whole of the program is just one b. But here what I'm saying is that let us say there are some instructions in the code block, and then you have a branching instruction. This is the if instruction, and then you have some more instructions after that. So what happens is something like this. If this particular we write it like this, if, and then in parenthesis there is a condition. I'll tell you what these conditions are. But if this condition is true, what happens is your code execution works like this. It comes up to here, then the braces that we have seen, right? If, and then there were some braces that we saw in the pseudocode. So this bi dash is basically whatever you write inside the braces. So what happens is if the condition is true, the execution goes like this, right? So it will go inside your if conditions braces, whatever is there it will execute it, and then it will come out and execute the statement that is right after if, as if there was nothing there in between. So this is the case when c the condition is true. If the condition is false, then if uh, this if block is simply ignored. Okay, so essentially your statement, your control simply flows away like this. Okay, in a linear fashion. So this is a very simple example. I'm trying to uh, calculate some percentages, and so I take the total, I take the maximum, and then I just try to calculate the percentage of this person, and uh, and I say that if the percentage is greater than 75, just print an additional message. Okay, so this you got these many percent marks. This will be printed irrespective of whether this person had 75% marks or not. But if this person had 75% marks, I also want an additional statement, right? So if you go back to an analogy, these statements, okay, there are no branching statements from the start of the code block. So essentially this is bi, and then this is your if, and this part is c. Okay, percentage greater than equal to 75 is c, and this is bi dash. Okay, bi dash is basically the statements within your if braces, and then this is bi plus 1. Okay, so the statement that is next to the if statement. Okay, next to the if statement, as in so within this code block, the statement that is next to the if statement is this and not this, because this is actually a separate code block. Okay, this, so basically the next statement to if is this part, this particular statement, this is bi plus 1. So now when you execute this program, if the percentage of the person is greater than 75, this looks like you got a distinction thing gets executed. So since the condition is true, the evaluation is something like this. It goes to bi. So bi was this, these two statements. Then bi dash, this is your bi dash, and bi plus 1, this is your bi plus 1. Now if the percentage is less than 75, the execution is simply bi and then bi plus 1. So bi dash is not executed. Similarly, if you want to have a kind of two-way branching, you can use an else alongside your if. Again, you have already seen this in the pseudocode. It's just becoming more formal now. So what happens is something like this. You have this condition here. If it evaluates to true, it goes to bi dash, and if this c evaluates to false, I have given another code block. So essentially, my path goes like this then. Okay, so let's take an example here. So here now I have added another else statement, and it says that there is a lot of scope for improvement. So if you have your percentage is greater than 75, it says, looks like you got a distinction, and otherwise, okay, so if it is less than 75, it will print this statement, right? So now this is my bi, this is my bi dash, this is my bi double dash. Okay, double dash is within the else part, and then this is my bi plus 1. So now this is the same case. Condition is true, so this is bi dash bi plus 1, and when the condition is false, it becomes bi double dash and bi plus 1, right? Simple. Another thing that you should know is that you can create something known as the if else if ladder. So basically you can keep on chaining if after another if. So basically you say if something is true, do this, otherwise so otherwise is else, right? But in the else itself, you can say, you can put another condition. So the first condition is the first if, the second condition is the second if, and you can actually keep on making more conditions like this. So now this is the quadratic equation solver that so this is basically our complete pseudocode changed into C code. So now what you can see is um, this is basically if, so this is the first set of statements, then this is else. Now with else I have also attached another if, right? So this is the else if ladder. Okay, so then this gets executed if this condition is true, and I can have another if here, another if here. So basically I can have any number of else if, else if, else if, and then at the end I simply put else, right? So else would mean that if none of these if were true, it will go inside the else. So this is exactly what I want for my quadratic equation solver, and this is simple. You understand what this is. Okay, so there are some finer points about conditions in C that you should know. So first of all, whenever you evaluate a particular condition in C, the result is actually an int value. Okay, so it is actually an integer, and if the value is 0, it means that the condition was false, and if there is anything other than 0, it is considered as true. So this is a kind of convention in C. 0 means false, any non-zero integer means 1. So when you evaluate a condition, um, the value, the returned value is 0, means that the condition is false, and if it is 1, it means the condition is so non-zero. When I say non-zero, usually it is 1. So then we say that the oh sorry, this is if the condition is true, this is true. Sorry, I'll change the slides. This is true. So the value is 0, it is false, then and the condition is true, then this is usually 1. So there are a set of operators in C which are used for making these comparisons: less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to. This is actually not equal to. Okay, so there is also a comparison operator which simply says not equal to. So if I say I not equal to 5, this will evaluate to 1 if I is any number but 5. Similarly, I not equal to 5 will evaluate to 0 if I is exactly 5. and then the double equal to is basically the equal to operator. Okay, so one of the most confusing things for beginners is in C is the difference between equal to and double equal to. So let's get this point straight right, because this is going to be the same in almost all programming languages. You'll have two different operators for assignment and checking a condition. Okay, so equal to is an assignment. It basically assigns the value on the right to a variable on the left. So keep this in mind, that you cannot have a constant on the left hand side of an equal to operator. Okay, RHS can be a variable or a value, so you can write I equal to j or I equal to 5. This is both acceptable, but you cannot write 5 equal to j. That is wrong. Okay, but for with double equal to is basically a condition. It checks if the value on the right is equal to the value on the left, and here both values can be variables or constant. So in theory it is fine to write 5 double equal to I. That is a valid statement. So the assignment operator also returns a value, by the way, the value on the right hand side. So essentially, if I say something like I equal to 5, what really happens is this not only assigns the value 5 to I, it also returns. So if I put this particular statement inside brackets, okay, what it means is that there will be a value that will be returned. Okay, and what will be that value? It will be the value on the RHS of j. So if I write, by mistake something like this, when I actually wanted to write this, what will really happen is this if condition evaluates to true if j is not 0. Okay, so j is anything but 0, then because equal to operator will return that as its side effect. So this if condition will evaluate uh, to true if j is not 0. It will evaluate false if j is 0. But this is in case, ideally you should never do this. This is the point. But if you do this, there is a good chance that you will not get an error, and that is why it is very hard to debug these kind of problems in your code. So be very careful when you want to write this. Make sure you have not written this. Now, so one more thing that you have to probably know is that whenever you want to let us say uh, execute a set of statements for a particular conditions, we are supposed to put them inside the braces. So this we have already seen, right? And there is an exception to this in C. Okay, this is just for C. Other languages may or may not have this, but in C you get some respite if you have only one statement to execute inside this code block. You can actually skip the braces as well. So basically, if you have just one printf statement or some other statement that is supposed to be executed if this condition is true, you can skip the braces. Okay, so you can simply write it like this. Remember, if you have two statements within the block, then you are required to put the braces. But if this exception is only when you have a single statement inside a particular code block, then in that case you can actually skip the braces as well. Now all comparison operators that we have seen, those greater, less than, greater than, equal to, and all, they have higher precedence than the arithmetic operators. Okay, um, okay, sorry, this is wrong. They have uh, a lower precedence than the arithmetic operator. This is the opposite. And within comparison operators have these guys actually have lower precedences than the arithmetic operators. Okay, sorry, okay, let me just rephrase this. All comparison operators have lower precedence than arithmetic operators, and within the comparison operators, not equal to and double equal to have lower precedences than others. Okay, so please don't get confused at this point. I will rectify the slides as well. But if you still feel confused, just open the table of precedences. I sent you a link in the previous lecture. Just open that table. So I will of course rectify this in the slides. Yeah, and So this is lower, by the way. So basically they still have higher precedence than assignment and logical operators. So what are logical operators? So what if I want to create a more complex condition? So what does a complex condition means? So let us say, I'll just show you an example. I have two bounds, let us say on percentages. So I want to say that okay, I will put a specific message for students if their percentage is, let us say, between 75 and 90, right? So there are two conditions that I want. That percentage is greater than equal to 75 and it is less than 90. So in such cases I need some kind of operators which are known as logical operators. So logical operators are basically the operators that we had seen in Boolean algebra, right? So in Boolean algebra there were three operations, and, or, and not. So in C, if you want to simply implement the same operations, the operators you have are and, this is 2 ampersand, or this is the pipe symbol twice, okay, two pipe symbols, and the exclamation mark is basically the not operator. Remember, not equal to, okay, is a different operator, and not is a different operator, okay. So this is just another example. I have added some more cases to this percentage story. So the first thing I am just saying is that if you have a percentage greater than or equal to 33, you have passed the exam. So this basically says if not passed. So this means that what happens is not simply reverses the condition. So if passed was true, now you will understand. If you want to explore more, you can actually add a printf statement here and check what is the value of passed. Okay, I'm just giving you some hints to check out what exactly do I mean when I say 0 is false and anything other than 0 is true. You can just put a printf statement at this point and check what exactly is getting stored in past. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is what will happen is if your percentage is greater than 33, the value of past will be 1. So if I do not of 1, basically 1 was true, so not of 1 will become false. So I will not come here, okay. And similarly, if past was 0, it means that the person's marks were less than 33%. Zeros not will become 1 and you will actually come inside this, and this will print a statement like this: sorry, you have failed. And then else. So else means that if you have failed, it will simply show this particular message and then it will go here, okay. So remember that bi dash, so this is bi plus 1. So after executing this, it will simply come out and show this. Else there is then now there is this is these are nested ifs. So within else I have some nested ifs. Nesting is basically the idea where I use the same construct within the same construct. So this is called nesting. So these are, then I have written these if else if ladders, and here you can see that I am doing something like this: percentage is less than 90 and percentage is greater than equal to 75. Percentage is less than 75 and percentage is greater than equal to 50. So basically and returns true if both conditions are true. So if either one of these is false, this whole condition will become false, and this whole condition will become true only when all the conditions here are true, okay. Similarly, there is or. I have not used or in this example, but or means that if either of these conditions are true, or will evaluate to 1. So basically the same thing that we discussed in Boolean algebra. So this is an example. Uh, if here the percentage is 10, so it simply says sorry, you have failed. Here the percentage is 60, it prints some message. Here the percentage is 70, it prints something else, right? So you can see how the code blocks get executed in different cases, okay. So this is your homework. I am not going to talk about it. We will discuss this in the in the Monday class, okay. Thank you guys, bye.